Yeah, Extantia is a climate tech venture capital firm based in Berlin, and we typically scout for technologies that can save a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. And with a lot of greenhouse gas emissions, we mean that the technology is addressing a sector where at least 1 billion tons of CO2 equivalents can be saved per year. Now, contrary to many other venture capital organizations, we actually mainly back hardware-based solutions. And some of you might already getting a little bit nervous thinking of all the capex costs involved in hardware-based solutions. But the truth is, it's not actually as hard and slow as you might think, especially not if a company is adopting a modular approach like many of the startups in the climate hardware space are doing, also like Ineratec. And why am I telling you this? So as cool as many of these software solutions might be, greenhouse gases simply cannot be removed from the physical atmosphere with something like an app on your phone. So at Extantia, we're not only excited about hardware, but we also believe it's instrumental to really move the needle on climate change. And yeah, of course, apart from being good for the planet, climate tech is also actually a $1 trillion market opportunity that you do not want to miss out on. Now, e-fuels is one of these massive market opportunities that, that our portfolio company Ineratec is currently taking. So, Philipp, maybe let's just start off with quickly telling the audience what you're actually doing and then maybe outlining how you're actually going to scale up fast apart from this modular approach.
Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Philipp. I am co-founder, managing director of Ineratec. Ineratec is the provider of so-called e-fuels, so fuels from carbon dioxide and green hydrogen. So what we actually do is we build chemical plants and we take carbon dioxide, we recycle carbon dioxide, we add green hydrogen. It has to be green because else it doesn't make sense. And then you combine it to so-called hydrocarbons, long-chained hydrocarbons. And in everyday life, we call them gasoline, diesel, kerosene, but also waxes for the chemical industry. So basically, we enable a carbon-neutral aviation. So actually, we work together over some customers with Swiss Airlines, but also with Lufthansa. So this is our topic, amongst others. But besides aviation, obviously, there are sectors in the world which are hard to abate, which means electrification is great. We love electrification, but look at shipping, at vessels. How can we actually transport containers over continents? For that, we will need those hydrocarbons with high energy density for quite some time. And also the chemical industry rely on carbons, so the so-called decarbonization is basically not possible because we will need the carbon molecules for the chemical industry also in the future. And our task at Ineratec is to provide those hydrocarbons and carbon molecules from a renewable way. So that's why we recycle carbon dioxide and use them as a valuable product.
So, thanks, Philipp. So I heard you say green hydrogen. This is, of course, a topic that many of us in the climate space are currently talking about. But at the moment, there is simply not actually a lot of green hydrogen. So where are you going to get this green hydrogen from?
That's true, and also that's one of the challenges, and therefore also one of the topic of our presentation here. We need green hydrogen. So basically we need to plug into any kind of hydrogen source from electrolyzers or also from gasification units, pyrolysis units. So what we need to do is we need to find the so-called sweet spots. It doesn't make too much sense to go to Zurich and install a chemical plant over there because electricity prices are comparably high. The same accounts for Germany. We're currently building a pilot unit in Germany, but still this is at a relatively high cost. So if we want to scale it up, we need to find the so-called sweet spots for power to X. And they can be found in the MENA region, Southern America, but also Canada, the US. So everywhere where you find green renewable energy at a very low cost level. And then you see all the projects coming up. It's about tens of megawatts, hundreds of megawatts, multi-million or even billion projects coming up in the Middle East. So this is our target. And how do we get there? Basically, you've mentioned it in the introduction. We have a modular approach. So we start with a small unit. We prove that the technology is working. We build up the value chains. And as soon as this is done, we've heard from the presentation before, bankability is a crucial thing. So we can prove that the technology is working. We roll it out. We are bankable. And therefore, we can go into project financings. So that's our task. And that's what we do since 2016. And now with a team of 100 people.
Okay, well, maybe let me play the devil's advocate a little bit. So we all know that money makes the world go round, right? So how are you going to reach price parity compared to fossil fuels?
That's most important. So often I'm asked, what's the price of e-fuel? And then I try to explain, if you want to have it very easily, then e-fuel is liquefied electricity. So the more expensive electricity is, the more expensive is the fuel. So you really need to decide where do you actually plug your plant. And if you go to the so-called sweet spots, then official studies show that prices below €1 per liter are possible. We always say, why should we sell it for €1 if price parity is already at 150 or €2 in the future? So what we say is we can achieve the price parity when going to different sites of cheap renewable electricity. Always keep in mind, you need carbon dioxide as well. So the question is also, where do you get carbon dioxide from? Here there are political discussions about punctual sources. Is a cement factory valid for carbon dioxide, green carbon dioxide? We don't discuss those discussions. We just take carbon dioxide as a molecule and we transform it into green fuels.
Yeah, so speaking of these liquid energy sources, how good are e-fuels actually for the planet?
That's a very good question also. So when you burn the e-fuels, you get carbon dioxide. That's normal. And you get everything else also from a combustion engine. Nevertheless, we've shown already that the combustion is much cleaner. So you save carbon dioxide. Basically, you're carbon dioxide neutral because the input is carbon dioxide. You burn it again, get carbon dioxide, use it again. So it's a circle of carbon dioxide. That's why we call it a carbon dioxide neutral. And also, for example, SOOT or NOx emissions are reduced by a two-digit percentage, NOx by 20%, SOOT by even more, because the fuels are very clean. Some call it designer fuels, so you can burn it much better in the engines. And that's also what we need to show. We need to bring it into the airplane. We need to show it. We're working together with DLR, ETH Zurich, so different kind of institutions to prove that everything is working as we plan.
Yeah, so maybe speaking of how you're going to show it, so which markets are you tapping into at the moment and how big are they actually going to be?
Yeah, I've said that a bit before. Our target market is aviation. Just imagine, how do you want to fly in 2050? There are some very interesting concepts about electric flying or hydrogen flying. But we all know that flying over the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean will not work with an electric vehicle, also not in 2050, and the same holds for hydrogen. So we will need kerosene in the future. The same is with diesel or methanol for shipping. We have an investor from shipping. They say, okay, it's nice to have a gas, LNG, but at the same time we need new engines. So the discussions are going on in those sectors. We also sometimes talk about cars. I mean, cars is if you have the opportunity to use electric battery and an electric car, it's always nice. But in some applications, you might just want to drive your combustion engine car or even a motorcycle. So this might be opportunities as well. And last but not least, the chemical industry. Again, they need the carbon molecules. So you cannot get rid of the carbon molecules. So these are the four, let's say, 3.5 businesses we're mostly in.
Thanks. So maybe instead of talking about opportunities, let's make it a little bit more tangible. So what are you actually doing at the moment? Like, at what scale are you? How big are the plants? Who are you providing?
So we've installed 13 demonstration plants. So the technology is very advanced. We are actually world leading in the technology. So now it's about scaling. How do you scale that technology? And for that, it's very crucial to show at scale, at a big scale, that the technology is working and that you're bankable. And that's why we will invest more than 30 million euros in Frankfurt next year, not right next to Zurich airport, but right next to Frankfurt airport. We will build up a plant with a capacity of 3,500 tons. And there we will produce the fuels. And then we will go into the value chains and really show that everything is working. And so what are we doing? We're currently raising a Series B of 75 million euros. It goes pretty well. We're in the first closing process still this year, so I'm pretty positive about all that.
Yeah. Sounds great. Thanks, Philipp. I think we're...
No, you still have 2 minutes.
Oh, it says 80 seconds.
Oh.
18
yeah,
seconds.
yeah. It says 16 seconds on our end.
Okay, then I guess your time is up.
Right.
Thank you very much for your time today, Iris and Philipp.
Yeah.
Thank
Round
you
of
very
applause, please, everybody.